Good evening everyone, I am Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to discuss the News Today articles for 11th September. So in today's discussion, we are going to cover 5 important articles in detail, where the first article is regarding the India and Mauritius relations. So recently there have been the high level visit from the side of Mauritius, where the Mauritian Prime Minister visited India, and that's why we have to discuss regarding the India and Mauritius relations. Next is regarding the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which has completed significant milestone of 5 years, and that has been extended also, right? So there has to be discussion about this. Next is regarding the United Nations report on the rebalancing of the military expenditure. So the report has highlighted certain drastic facts regarding the increase of the expenditure on the military by different countries. So we have to discuss regarding this. Next article is regarding the rare earth magnets, and there have been certain export restrictions that were put by China on these particular rare earth magnets, which is hampering different industrial sectors. So we have to discuss also regarding this. Last is regarding the offshore aquifers. So there have been recently identification of the offshore aquifers even below the sea. So we have to discuss regarding this also. Then we are going to discuss in the places in news, the place Qatar, right? So we will discuss regarding this, and then there are certain other quick updates that we are going to see. So let's start the discussion with the very first article regarding the India and the Mauritius relations. So India as a steadfast partner in the Mauritius socio-economic growth, that was said by the Mauritian Prime Minister. Right. Now, when any such high-level meeting that happens between two countries from the perspective of international relations, it is getting important, right? Now, when there is a visit from the side of any specific country, which is strategically very important from the perspective of India, then it becomes further significant. Now, when we talk about the Mauritius, it is a island nation state that is situated in the Indian Ocean region. And you all know that we are already talking a lot regarding the Indo-Pacific region. And simultaneously, we are also talking about another prominent region where there is a tremendous growth potential, which is the African region. So Mauritius as a significant partner in both the domains, that's why this articles become further significant. So from the perspective of UPSC, why it is important? Because in the international relation, India and its neighborhood relations, it is important topic. Apart from that, even the India and the Indian diaspora, because a large chunk of the Mauritian population is of Indian origin. So we will discuss entirely about this. So let's, before discussion of the article, let's see the geography of the Mauritius. So you can see in the eastern side of the Madagascar, you are able to see this particular red dot, which is the Mauritius island. So when we talk about this particular Mauritius island, it is the part of the Mascarene Islands. Now this Mascarene Islands is generally considered as a group of 3 islands, which includes Mauritius, which also includes the Reunion Island, which also include the Rodrigues Island, right? So these are the aspects regarding this Mascarene Island. Now you might have already heard of the Mascarene High from the perspective of Indian monsoon. Now you identify that why this region is known as the Mascarene Islands, and from there the term Mascarene High emerges, right? Now when we talk about the geography of the Mauritius, this is an important strategic location in the Indian Ocean region. Now the nature of the island, it is the volcanic island, which is almost surrounded by the coral reef. So coral reefs are basically the sea organism, and it is a kind of symbiotic relationship between the algae and the zooxanthellae, right? So basically in that particular case, you are able to see the location which is surrounded by even the coral reefs. Apart from that, there is another prominent territory which is formally part of the Mauritius now, because that territory was ceded by United Kingdom now to Mauritius, but again as a catch, they have taken this particular island group as a lease from Mauritius. So this island I'm talking about, this archipelago I'm talking about, is the Chagos archipelago. So somewhere here in the Indian Ocean region, you are able to see the Chagos archipelago, which is basically the group of islands. Now there is a prominent military base jointly operated by the United States and the United Kingdom, Diego Garcia. Now that was the major bone of contention. That's why the United Kingdom was keeping this particular island group, and now formally, though it was given by the United Kingdom to Mauritius, which is the rightful part of the Mauritius, but then they had taken this particular territory as a lease for 99 years, right? So that's how this territory is important. That's why this Chagos archipelago is also important. Now, when we talk about the India and the Mauritius relations, there are few key pointers we have to take into consideration whenever we are discussing about their bilateral relations. The first and very important thing is the economic thing, and simultaneously I can also keep the strategic aspect also in this particular picture, right? So both of these things are very, very significant when we talk about the India and Mauritius relations. Regarding economic thing, so since it is a small island nation, obviously a lot cannot be produced on that particular island, right? So that's why a large amount of trade is going from the India, or the exports are going from India towards Mauritius. Even with respect to the Mauritius developmental partnership, India is supporting through the line of credit, through different other type of grants that India is providing to Mauritius. Now, when we talk about the trade partner of Mauritius, India comes at one of the largest trade partner of Mauritius. So you can see that one of the leading trade partner of Mauritius, and apart from that, what kind of export? The export of pharmaceuticals, cotton, cereals, motor vehicle, and the mineral fuels, because there are a lot of limitation when it comes to a small island country. That's why India is exporting a lot. And then there are certain concessional exports that are also there as a part of the India and the Mauritius deals. Now, apart from that, even the FDI flow. So generally, the FDI flows from Mauritius towards India, right? So that particular foreign direct investment ka, if you see the chunk of 100%, so out of that 100% which India received since 2000, roughly 25% of that particular amount came from Mauritius. So that also strengthens the India and the Mauritius partnership. Apart from that, recently there has been a trend that Indian corporations, Indian companies, whether it is the construction company or different other companies, they are sharing the technologies, they are sharing their expertise with the Mauritian companies also, and they are acting as a Mauritius developmental partners, right? So India is also investing in Mauritius. Now then we can talk about the strategic aspect, the strategic and the geopolitical significance. So now India is talking from the perspective of the vision of Indo-Pacific, which stretches from this particular region of Africa. So you can see this eastern region of Africa till your western part of Americas. This entire construct of the Indo-Pacific is visible. Now here, this eastern part of Africa, this particular region is important, and that's why the Mauritius becomes a very important country. Now, previously India used to be guided by the Sagar initiative or the Sagar related strategy, which is the security and growth for all in the region. Now that vision has been expanded now in the form of Mahasagar initiative or Mahasagar vision, which talks about mutual and the holistic advancement of the security and growth for all in the region. Matlab, previously it was confined mainly to the countries with which India is surrounding, means the neighborhood countries. Now it has been expanded to even the countries which are distant yet very, very important from the perspective of the security and the strategic aspects. So whether it is the Mahasagar initiative, whether it is the neighborhood first policy, like guided by the policy where India is supporting, India is acting as a developmental partner to those particular country, India is helping. Apart from that, even since it is part of the African Union and India is having a lot developmental partnership, the trade with the African Union has been expanded, and India is guided by the Kampala vision, right? So in that particular case, this India is also supporting this Africa's developmental initiative, and in that particular case, this Mauritius can act as a gateway to Africa in this particular regard, right? Now, apart from that, there are other things, for example, developmental partnership. So India is providing the line of credit, India is providing the special economic packages to Mauritius in order to ensure their developmental journey and their growth related aspects, right? So these are also there. Apart from this, the Metro Express project, the Supreme Court building, social housing. So the countries which are comparatively lesser developed, there India is supporting through these kind of developmental partnership. And this is not it. Like India is also supporting through the HADR initiative, like the humanitarian assistance and the disaster relief. Now, what we do generally in these kind of project, we are supporting whenever that particular country faces any significant or the major issues. For example, the issue occurred during the time period of COVID-19, where we had to support that particular country through the vaccine, through different kind of developmental support, like the supply of the pharmaceutical aspects also. Iske alawa, there have been this Wakashio oil spill that was there in 2020. So in that particular case, India had supported with respect to the cleaning of that particular oil spill. So India has also provided support with this particular regard. Lastly, and I would say again, this is also very important, the cultural aspect of the India and the Mauritius relations, because you can see that roughly 70% of the Mauritian population is Indian origin. 70%. That is very significant. And the Prime Minister Naveen Ramgoolam, he is also hailing his origin from the India, like the ancestral roots from India, right? That's why it is important. And you are seeing this particular word Girmitya. So this is a deformed term which comes from the agreement. So the Girmit comes from the agreement. This was the distorted version of the agreement, and through which this Girmitya term comes. Now, who are the Girmityas? These are the indentured labor who were taken from India to different plantation location by the Britishers during the colonial time period. And later on, these people settled on those particular islands and the places and eventually continued there. So with different countries, India have this diaspora relationship because of these indentured labor. So that's why Girmityas is also very important. These are the things with respect to the India and Mauritius relation. Now, if there is any question comes regarding the importance, you can write about these pointers. Iske alawa, there are certain other things. For example, there are certain island related support. So for example, India is also providing the strategic support. India is developing the strategic bases on those particular islands, specifically in the region, including on the Mauritius and even on the Seychelles, right? So that are also important thing. Now, there are PYQs, not specifically about Mauritius, but the PYQ was regarding the indentured labor. So the question was why indentured labor was taken by British from India to other colonies. Have they been able to preserve their cultural identity over there? Right. Now, in that case, the indentured labor, an idea about that, what government is doing presently, if that is there, if there is in future any specific question is asked regarding the indentured labor or the Girmitya community, then in that case, that can be answered, right? So, whether it is about India-Mauritius relation or whether it is about tracing the historical linkages, that's why these kind of things are important. Now, obviously, when we talk about the issues, so issues maybe you can write regarding that what are the issues that generally an island country faces. And when we talk about the China relation, China becomes one such major issue, because now China is also doing the developmental partnership with Mauritius and many other countries in this region. That also challenges the India's stake, right? So that's how you can write the challenges. Next article is regarding the 5 years of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, PMMSY, right? Now, from the perspective of the UPSC, this is important from the GS paper 2 governance perspective, from the perspective of welfare scheme. Iske alawa, even regarding the general studies 3, this is very important topic, because economy, agriculture, in the agriculture, the fisheries sector is also very important. So the agriculture and the allied activity, this specific aspect is important, right? So that's why this topic is important. Now, regarding the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, now just read the name and try to identify the meaning. What do we mean by this Matsya Sampada? Matsya is used for the fishes, right? Or the fisheries related activities. And the Sampada represents the kind of wealth. Right. So, utilizing fisheries as the wealth. Now, wealth includes a lot of things. The wealth includes even providing certain aspects like the employment opportunity, like utilizing that for the growth, developing the value chain. Through that only you are going to get prosperous, right? So, wealth is something that is giving you the prosperity. If you are going to give the employment, if you are going to do value addition, if you are going to do a lot of things with respect to this, then only you are going to channelize your wealth, right? So, this particular scheme, now you might have already got that this is targeting the fisheries activities from all 360-degree perspective, whether it is the development of value chain, whether it is providing the avenues, whether it is providing subsidy, whether it is doing value addition, whether it is incorporation of technology, all the things have been provided as a part of this. Now, this scheme was initially conceptualized in 2019-2020 ka budget, that this Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana was there. Now, then 2020-21 onwards, this Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana was initiated, and then the target was 2024-2025. So for the 5 years, and now this has been further extended to 25-26 tak. So this is the timeline regarding this Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Now let's read regarding the aims and objective. First is regarding the harnessing of the fisheries potential. So India is having the large coastline, more than 7,000 kilometers, and even apart from that, the inland fisheries are there. So because of the availability of the perennial river and even a large system of rivers, right? So that's how even the coastal areas or the inland river based areas can be harnessed for harnessing the fisheries potential. Next is regarding enhancing the production and the productivity, similar to the first. Then modernizing and strengthening of the value chain, post-harvest management and the quality improvement. So intentionally you are trying to improve the quality of feed, the quality of conditions, so that the quality of fisheries that are going to emerge because of this will be comparatively good. Then doubling of the fishers and the fish farmers income and generating employment, so the employment related things. Next is enhancing contribution to the agriculture, GVA and export, because the fisheries are part of the agriculture and the allied activities, right? Now when the fisheries production is going to get increased, the part of the fisheries in the overall GDP increases, overall agricultural production increases, right? So enhancing the contribution of the fisheries in the agriculture gross value added. Apart from that, the social, physical and the economic security, because there are a lot number of people dependent upon the fisheries related activities, specifically in the coastal area and even in the inland area. And when we are seeing right now the crunch of the employment, these particular initiatives can help with respect to ensuring food security on one side and providing employment on the other side. Next is regarding the robust fisheries management and the regulatory framework. So with respect to the fisheries, whether it is about the regulating of the fisheries or providing the robust framework with respect to management of the fisheries, this is important. Now this is from the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and the Dairying. So this is the concerned ministry also. Now when we talk about the things or the key fact with respect to the fisheries, initial time period was 2020-21 and then it was to 2024-25. Now it has been extended to 25-26. What is the nodal agency? The National Fisheries Development Board, which is under the Ministry of Fisheries, right? Now this unique thing with respect to this Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana is that it is a umbrella scheme. There are multiple schemes under it. Now this is both as a part of the central sector scheme, where the funding is completely being provided by the central government, and the centrally sponsored scheme component also, that is part of it. So where the state is also cooperating, providing the funding in certain ratio. Now when we talk about the 5 years appraisal of this particular Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, obviously we have to also talk about that what we have achieved in this Matsya Sampada Yojana. So regarding the achievement, India became the second largest fisheries related country. So second largest fish producer across the globe. So global level per 8% of the global fisheries production is there from the India. It includes both inland and the coastal fisheries, and 58 lakh livelihood, and apart from that empowered 99,018 women. That means, because see, we know that in the agriculture also, comparatively we talk about the topic of the feminization of agriculture. That means female are more participating in it, and here also the women are also going to get a lot benefited from this perspective, that these incentives are specifically to some more level provided to the women, right? So that's why it is also impacting the life of women. Now apart from this, there are some strategic initiatives that are created as a part of this. So empowering the women in fisheries, so up to 60% of the financial assistance has been provided to women. So whether it is the women oriented project with respect to the fisheries, apart from that supporting the climate resilient coastal villages, so entire village ecosystem based upon the fisheries is sought to be created. Next is regarding the technological adoption. We have seen that the enhancing productivity. Now how you are going to enhance productivity? Through the technological adoption. So biofloc and the recirculatory aquaculture system. What is biofloc? So generally what happens that when you are doing the fishery activity, let's say in a pond, now what you are doing, basically you have to clear the water at the regular interval, otherwise there will be issue with respect to the qualities of fisheries. So this biofloc technology may, in the closed loop system, means within that particular pond only, by introducing certain bacteria, certain specific bacteria, you can utilize the waste that is being generated by the fishes into the feed. That means from the waste to protein can be generated, and through which the nourishment and the nutrition quality of that particular fisheries can also be increased, right? So that's what is biofloc technology. So whether it is the remaining feed of fisheries or the waste of fisheries can be converted into their feed, and that can be done by the introduction of bacteria. What is recirculatory aquaculture system? It is also to some extent a kind of closed loop system where you are utilizing the same water again by filtering it. Biological filters and the mechanical filters are introduced as a part of this recirculatory aquaculture system, which is helping in order to clean that water so that that same water can be utilized again and again. Clear hai? Next is regarding the formalization and the digitalization. So Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Sah Yojana, which is also part of this Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana ka sub scheme hai. That apart from that, national fisheries, the digital platform in order to promote fisheries, in order to ensure the better regulation and the formalization. Lastly is the climate resilient coastal fishermen villages, CRCFV. So the coastal fishermen villages. So there is 100 CRCFV aims to enhance the climate resilience. Now see, the climate change is the reality or the modern day reality. Now we have to adapt with these, right? So in that cases, we have to ensure that the technological things that we are incorporating should be climate resilient, so as to we will be able to ensure sustainable fisheries, right? Now see, regarding the fisheries, already in one of the previous news todays, we have discussed entirely regarding the value chain of the fisheries. Now in this particular context, there has to be discussion about some quick facts which you can even utilize in your notes, and then notes can be replicated even in your answer. So who is regulating the fisheries? Inland sector mein it is in the domain of state government, and marine sector mein it is the cooperation between the central and the coastal state government. Now when we talk about the key data, now one such key data also highlighted in the previous slide, that India is now the second largest producer of the fishes or the fish production. Now inland fish production is roughly 75%. That means in the context of India, if the UPSC asks a question that the inland fisheries is the majority contributor as far as the fish production is concerned, then that answer is correct. 75%. Gross value add mein it is 1.12%, which is roughly 7.26% of the agriculture ka gross value added. So roughly 1.12% of GVA is being contributed by fisheries. Next is around 30 million people are involved. That means it is also an employment incentive sector, where by giving certain subsidy, by giving certain other help, there can be a lot employment that can be generated. This kind of fact can be utilized in such answers of fisheries, right? Next article is regarding the UN report that warns that the record military spending threatens the global peace and the development. Now see, recently we had seen the Operation Sindoor. Then there were certain escalations that were there across the globe. The Russia-Ukraine crisis is going on. There was Israel and Iran issue. There was involvement of the United States also. And a day like yesterday only, there was an attack from the side of Israel in the Kuwait. So basically what is happening, that across the globe there are multiplicity of the issues that are happening, and that are escalating the military cost also, because if there is any kind of conflict between two countries, don't you think so, there is a need to involvement of the military, and then there will be a technological development from the side of that country, or that country is going to import certain kind of defense equipments also. When that particular things are going to happen, in that case the military expenditure increases, as a part of their GDP increases, as a part of their budget expenditure increases, and that is also going to create certain issues at the global level. So that's why the UN is cautioning through its report that recently across the globe there have been substantial amount of increase in the military expenditure. From the perspective of UPSC, GS paper 2, important international institutions. UN is an important international institution, right? Apart from that, the agencies and their report, that's why it is important. Apart from that, GS paper 3, security, economic development, role of the external state and even the non-state actors, because ऐसा तो नहीं है that every time the fight is going between the states, even sometimes state against the non-state actors. So in that cases also the military expenditure is needed to be increased, right? Because like you see that India is fighting, on one side there are the state actors like the Pakistan and China, but from the other side there is the proxies of Pakistan like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and all that are also involved in the fighting. So there also the defense capabilities are needed. Now when we talk about the highlights of the report, certain important thing that this report is highlighting. Before that, what was the theme of this report? The security we need, rebalancing the military spending for a sustainable and the peaceful future. This report simply talks about that when we are on one side spending a lot on the military related expenditure, then other side we are compromising upon the developmental goal. Whether it is achieving the sustainable energy, whether it is achieving sustainable cities, whether it is achieving sustainable health, or whether it is achieving sustainable education. So all these things are going to get compromised because of this. Now what are the highlight or the report? That report says that recalibrating of the global approaches to security and the development, reversing the dual trends of rising military expenditure and widening development finance gap. So what is happening? That what I have already explained, that there is a need to recalibrate the approach, which says that the security and the development ko when we are prioritizing a lot, that has to be prioritized. But at what cost? If that particular cost increases the military expenditure and creating the financing gap with respect to the development, then that particular cost is too high, right? So this report is talking about that. Now what is the breakaway of this particular report? First, it is talking about what kind of spending we are doing on military. So the global military spending is roughly $2.7 trillion for last year. It is talking about the data for 2024. So there are organizations like CIPRI, which talks about, which gives the data with respect to different countries, what is their military spending. So it says $2.7 trillion. When we talk about $2.7 trillion last year, that is going to further increase to $6.6 trillion by 2035. Now already when we are talking about that there is developmental financing gap, whether it is renewable energy, whether it is sustainable urbanization, whether it is employment, education, health, any sector, there are gaps. So if there has been in this much increase on the defense expenditure just to fight, then in that particular case, obviously it is going to compromise upon the developmental goal. Now, see, I'm not saying that this is the complete waste of money, but there can be rationalization also. That is being provided from the side of United Nations. Now, the United Nations also says, this report says that 2022 to 2025 ke beech mein, there have been 2.2 to 2.5% increase of the world GDP, which is going for the military related expenditure. So 2.2 to 2.5% of the global GDP is going towards the what? Towards the military expenditure, and then 6.6 to 7.7%. So pehle it was 6.6, now it has increased to 7.1. So 0.5% of the national budgets of different countries average basis pe, and 2.5% of the world's GDP is getting spent on the military expenditure. It is a very high cost. Now when it comes to the major military expenditure wala countries, China, India, Russia, US and the European Union, they majorly constitutes the 70% of the global military expenditure. Now the UN report also highlights that this 2.7 trillion that you are talking about, this is roughly equals to more than 50 or 60 countries ka GDP combined. This much money for 1 year you are spending on the military. So need to rethink that particular thing. What are the other key highlights of this report? Financing the imbalance. So this report says that if this much is going to get spent on the military that the countries are doing, then obviously there is a imbalance that is going to be created. So the developmental financing has not kept at the same pace. So on one side, there was defense expenditure, development finance expenditure. Defense expenditure shot up. And then there are conflicts that are going on, because of which it is further increasing. But on the other side, it is not increasing, like the expenditure is not increasing on the developmental finance to that extent, right? Now, there is a highlight regarding financing gap for the SDGs widens to $4 trillion. By 2030, this much will be the gap. We are talking about $6.6 trillion on military expenditure by 2035. That means if there can be certain shift of the amount on this achievement of the SDG, then the world will be comparatively better livable planet for all the species, right? Now, what happens when the countries spend a lot on the military related expenditure? There is a concept of the security dilemma. When one country increases its military power, other country, which might be the rival country, is bound to increase, because what happens that this creates the security gap, or that creates the deficit between these two countries. That's why the other country is bound to increase. For example, when China increases its military might a lot, India is bound to increase its economic power along with the military power also. So that's why right now what world is facing? Geopolitical tension. When there will be geopolitical tension, now you do not know exactly in which particular region the next conflict might be there. So in that cases, the country has to be prepared also militarily, right? So the geopolitical tension, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, whether it is conflict in the West Asia or any other place, these tensions are increasing. Now, when these tensions are increasing, the arm race also increases, because when the tensions are high, the country has to resort to certain protective measures also. They have to utilize the defense related equipments. We have seen the utilization of the defense technologies, defense shield, S-400, a lot of things were there, right? So these things are there, and that arm race means acquiring more and more military equipment, whether it is indigenous or whether it is procured from other country, and that increases the risk of conflict, because next country is also going to procure the similar, obviously not at similar capability, but yes, to their capability, they will try to increase their expenditure, and this creates the arm race. Next is crowding out of resources. So see, there are certain developmental priorities, maybe poverty, maybe education, maybe health. Now, what the countries are doing, they are trying to ensure that the most important thing is the national security. So, sidelining the education, sidelining health, sidelining the poverty. Otherwise, if that amount could have gone to these things like poverty reduction, education, health, then there could have been better human development creation or the human resources creation. Next is the increasing of the public debt. Now, all the countries are not self-sufficient. In the case of military, they have to purchase the equipment. Now, in that case, we have to give the money to those countries from which we are purchasing. And in those particular instances, there is a public debt that is created. Means the taxes are going into purchasing of the equipments, and also sometimes they are being taken as a loan. Then eventually we have to repay also. So that also creates the deficit, right? So these are the highlights that are being provided by the report. Now, what the UN report says, they provide certain kind of solutions, to some extent idealistic and to some extent practical. Idealistic in that sense, yes, always it's not like the country which is aggressor, that particular country is the right country, right? Other country also have this right to protect their sovereignty. For that, they have to go for the defense related equipments and defense related security, as highlighted aptly by late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, that we have not created this nuclear weapon in order to attack on any country. But if we do have the nuclear weapon, then other country will not dare to attack on us. That means sometime the procurement and all is also for the defensive thing. So other country will not attack this particular country. So what UN report says, prioritize the diplomacy, baatcheet se solution karo, right? Peaceful settlement of dispute and the confidence building measure. Now, tell me in any specific cases which are going on. First there was escalation, then only there was ceasefire. Whether it is Russia-Ukraine, abhi tak ceasefire nahi hua, right? Whether it is Israel and the Iran conflict, yes, now Iran also is in talk with the IAEA. But first the escalation was there from the side of all the countries. So in that cases, peaceful settlement of dispute can be promoted. But yes, who is going to initiate? That's the major issue. The confidence building measure, like the countries can ensure the better cooperation, communication can be further increased. The bringing the military expenditure to the fore of the disarmament discussions. But yes, again, this is a idealistic situation. We were talking about the nuclear disarmament. Has it happened? No. So the disarmament has to be initiated first from the side of the major countries. Because if they are going to possess the weapons, then other countries will never get the confidence in order to shed whatever weapons they are possessing, right? So bringing the military expenditure to the fore of disarmament discussion, yes, that can be done, but initiation has to be done from the major countries, which are the major powers. Promoting transparency and accountability, let the public know that where the government is spending the money. So the defense expenditure should be clearly prioritized as a part of their budget. Strengthening the multilateral finances for development, so at least there should should be further development of the multilateral financial institutions. For example, New Development Bank of BRICS. For example, Asian Infrastructure and Development Bank. For example, the World Bank and the other institutions which are created in order to ensure development. Strengthen karo unhe. Do not weaken them. Last is the advancing the human-centered approach. Means the human approach should be adopted. The human resource development, health, education, these things should be prioritized, right? Next article is regarding the China's curb on the rare earth magnets REM export impact the India's automakers. Now there is a term that is highlighted over here is the rare earth magnet. So rare earth magnet, basically that particular kind of magnet utilizes the rare earth element. So that's how the rare earth element is the need for discussion. From the perspective of UPSC GS paper to development effect of the policies of developed and developing countries and how they are going to impact the India, right? Next is paper 3, economy, industry, security, and even GS paper 1, which is talking about the economic geography. Because when there is a minerals, mines related things that are being discussed, at that point of time, if there is any major location concerning that mineral, if that is there, then UPSC can ask even the prelims related pointer based upon that. Now when we are talking about rare earth magnet, first let's discuss about what are the rare earth element. So these are the group of 17 element which are combinedly known as the rare earth element. Now do not confuse them with the critical minerals or the critical elements. Critical minerals are designated by the government. Basically these are those minerals which are important for the national development, which are important for the economy. Rare earth element, yes, many of the rare earth element are also part of the critical mineral that are being designated by government, but rare earth element is basically the chemical group of 17 element prominently related to the lanthanide series. Now, why they are rare earth element? Are they rare? The answer is no. They are in very abundance in the earth crust. Then why they are the rare earth element? Because the concentration that is there in the earth crust is so widely distributed so that extraction is not that much economical. For example, let's understand this ki bhai, suppose karo, if you are, let's say, digging out this particular region and maybe there might be 10 kg of gold in the deposits in this particular earth crust. After digging this particular region, you are going to get 10 kg of gold. But on the similar level, in this similar crust, which is having the rare earth element, this will be sparsely located. And maybe ho sakta hai in this entire region, only 0.5 kg of the rare earth element ka composition. And that too, similar minerals. Like for example, ho sakta hai out of those 17s, 4 or 5 ka composition aapko mile. Then extract the specific element out of those 4 or 5 also. So that may be like 0.1 kg of all the rare earth, all the 5 rare earth that you have got. So this is the issue, that the distribution is so sparse, so like a spreaded distribution that is there. That's why they are considered as uneconomical in order to produce. But present world says no, they are not uneconomical. They are very much critical for the national growth of any specific country. And that's why only we are discussing about them. So rare earth comes from their rarity as far as the distribution is concerned. It's not about their concentration. Overall earth crust mein bahut zyada hai, but they are comparatively in that smaller chunk of the mineral that you are getting, usme comparatively concentration kam hota hai. The concentration is lesser, right? Now, when we talk about the rare earth magnet, that is all. That means that particular magnets should be utilizing the rare earth element light. So they are the strongest type of the permanent magnet that includes the rare earth element. Now, what are the rare earth element? No need to remember the name, but just have an idea about it. So there is neodymium, right? So that is the rare earth element. Then praseodymium, right? And after that, dysprosium. These are the rare earth elements that are part of this particular strongest permanent magnet. So rare earth magnets. Now when we talk about other things, so they are critical parts of the EVs. So EVs may we are talking a lot, we are talking about the development of EVs, but majority of the component of EVs, whether it is battery or lot of other things, they are made from the rare earth element. Then the renewable energy resources, the solar panel, a lot of other technological equipment, even including the storage devices that uses the rare earth. Then cutting edge defense system that uses like the fighter aircraft body, then the gear mechanism uses these particular things. Apart from that, if see right now what happened actually, ki China, which is having roughly 70% of the rare earth production. See, resources की बात करें, if we talk about the resources that are available in China, roughly 60% we can say global आपका वहाँ पर है. But then there has been more than 70% of the global production that is controlled by China. When we talk about refinement, it increases to 90% ke around, because these three are different stages. You might be having the resource or the reserve of the rare earth element, but as I said that they are so sparsely distributed, it is generally uneconomical if you do not have that much cutting edge technology. So for majority of the country, it is uneconomical. That's why the countries are like, they want to get it from different countries जो कि refine कर रहे हैं, like China. So in that cases, we are dependent on China for the majority of the rare earth element, right? Now, recently what China has done, China ने export ban लगाया कि we will be putting export control, not permanent ban, but export control in the wake of the America's tariff policy. Now, in that case, even for the Indian firms which are dependent on the Chinese rare earth element, including the rare earth magnet, that context maybe China has reduced supply and comparatively stopped the supply of these particular rare earth magnets. So from the side of China, now these particular rare earth magnets are not more coming from the side of China to India. Now it was thought that when the Prime Minister will go to SCO summit, there will be discussion and then there will be some resolution, but that has not happened, right? So regarding the rare earth element, there has not been any such kind of discussion, and even there is no such kind of relaxation of the export control. Now, what is happening because of this? Now, when the rare earth magnets are not coming from the side of China, now we have to import the complete part. When you are importing raw material, compare it with importing the complete part, which is including all these kind of mechanism. So that makes your entire product costly, because previously you are doing value addition. There is a lot of things that were available in India. Now what you are doing, you are taking the manufactured product from the side of countries like China or Vietnam. In that cases, the product ka price, which is the final product, that particular price gets increases. And there are some incentive schemes from the side of India. For example, PLI scheme, like the production linked incentive scheme. In that case also, now you are not meeting the criteria because the value addition is comparatively less, and that's why you are not also getting the benefit of that PLI scheme. So that's why it is important. Now this is what I was talking about. See, roughly you can see China is producing roughly this much million rare earth element related production. Well, not production, this is the reserve. So 44, 22 million ton. Then 21, 6.9. That means India is also having the substantial amount of rare earth element. But when it comes to the production ke context mein, you can see this is mentioned as 61, but the actual data is even more than 70%. This is there. And apart from that, other country include the United States and some other. But then refining and ultimately providing the processed rare earth element in the form of utilizable form, that is being controlled by mainly China. More than 90% is in China. Now, what are the challenges that are associated? Because see, if it would have been economical, if it would have been not that difficult task, obviously India with having more than 7% के around जो overall globe का rare earth element का reserves है, India would have utilized that, but there must be certain challenges. What are these particular challenges? First is regarding that major concentration is there in China. So why that particular thing is there in China? 70% of the rare earth mining is going on in China. 90% of the production that is going on, the final production that is going on in China. Now, despite 5th largest rare earth element reserve, India is not able to produce. The reason includes that first, their distribution is so vastly there, right? So that is not economical to produce. Next, there are a lot of environmental issues. Then apart from that, the water utilization. So all these things apart from regulatory issues makes it difficult for India in order to extract them to the economical form. A lot of expenditure has to be done, cutting edge technology has to be taken. In that case, only India will be able to utilize. See, United States is not also able to produce this much amount of rare earth, बहुत small amount of rare earth element for their only critical operations that is there with them. Apart from that, they have to remain dependent on China. That's why United States sometimes relax its stand on China because of the dependency on the rare earth element for their defense equipment and others. Now, high risk venture because the high capital and the time incentive, that's intensive. That's why it is also challenging task. Now, what initiatives government of India has taken? So the National Critical Mineral Mission. So we have a few days back talked about that the government is now trying to integrate that whatever the waste EVs are, the e-waste are there, and apart from that there are certain other equipments from which the rare earth element can be extracted. So for that, government has prepared a policy and government has laid down the funding also for that. So critical mineral mission mein that is also the component, like the self-reliance and even including the recycling. Next is regarding the Indian Rare Earth Limited, which is a government's venture, right? So that is also collaborating with the corporations of Japan and Korea in order to manufacture the rare earth magnets commercially. So India is collaborating with different countries, but see, it is said that roughly it will take 3 to 4 years in order to make sure the supply of the robust supply chain. But in that case, obviously we have to ensure our current priorities also. For that, there has to be certain resolution that the government should come. One such thing that these vehicle producers are doing, like they are avoiding those particular components, they are trying to find the alternative. That can also be done so as to reduce the dependency, but Atmanirbharta also should be incorporated over here. That's why the rare earth element are important. Now we have already discussed, when we had discussed that article about the critical mineral, these particular questions are also discussed. Like the question can be asked regarding the designated major mineral. Even the question can be asked like this in the form of the rare earth metals, why they were in news, right? Or the rare earth magnet के बारे में भी पूछा जा सकता है. Even apart from that, mineral related economy, because when you are going to extract the mineral, there will be certain environmental consequences also. So the question that was asked by UPSC that are fundamental to the country's economy exploited by the mining, why mining is considered as the environmental hazard, because when you are doing mining in the fragile zone, in that particular case it is going to impact a lot. Next is explain the remedial measures required to reduce the environmental hazard due to the mining. So you have to answer this question. The last article is regarding the scientists confirmed the discovery of a large offshore aquifer under the Atlantic Ocean. So now why this is important from the UPSC perspective, because geography mein there is an important aspect regarding the salient feature of the world physical geography, the distribution of oceans, other minerals and all, the distribution of the key natural resources, that is also there. Even GS paper 3 mein there is the topic of economy and even the environment and ecology. So environment mein when you are going to extract something from the ocean floor or below the surface of ocean, in that case the marine biodiversity is also going to get impacted. So that's why that particular question can be asked. Now what are aquifers? So you might have already heard this particular term aquifer in the context of the on land aquifers, right? So basically क्या होता है that when you talk about aquifers, these are the water that is trapped in the rocks. So maybe there may be 2 layers of rock, ठीक है? So below this particular earth surface, there may be this particular rock structure, okay, and this particular rock structure. Between these particular rock structure, there may be a kind of below land stream of water. If you have to take out the water from here, you need to create a puncture over here and the water can be extracted from that particular region. Now, what is then the offshore aquifers? So the offshore aquifers are beneath the sea floor. That means here there is no land. Here also there is water available. But the difference is this particular water is the fresh water and this is basically the ocean water. So that is going to be saline, right? So that is the thing that we have to discuss about that. The question, this particular topic talks about the offshore aquifers. So the offshore aquifers, which is beneath the sea floor. Now, what scientists have found that across the globe there are multiple coasts at the offshore locations. There have been finding out of these offshore aquifers. So on the coast of Australia, China, North America, South America, here there are instances where the scientists have observed offshore location pe even to the distance of 90 kilometer. Means this is the coastal line. Suppose karo, this is the coastal line. Here 90 kilometer towards the ocean, they have found out that below the ocean there is these kind of aquifers that are available where the fresh water is trapped. Now this can extend up to 90 kilometer of the coast and 10% of the overall terrestrial fresh water जो है उतना water can be available from these particular aquifers. Now you might also be thinking how that particular water can be extracted. This is what the major issue is. इतना easy होता तो otherwise it could have been easily taken out, right? Now the how, because we have talked about that if on the above layer it is the ocean water, below that there are certain rock structure, between that rock structure there is fresh water available. So how that particular fresh water can be preserved? So there is also the cap rock layer. That means there is the clay rich sediments that is available on the rocks or in the rocks that is keeping that particular fresh water, and that prevents that ocean water to enter in the fresh water. So that prevents the fresh water getting rich with respect to the saline water wala minerals, right? Now when we are talking about that how that particular water got trapped there, because हमने तो सुना है कि like for that particular thing there either there will be rainfall, from that rainfall the water will percolate down and that particular water will be flowing in the form of aquifers, right? So how that water got trapped below the ocean? There must be mineral rich water or the saline water, right? So there are two theories that are talked about in this regard. First is the ice age hypothesis. It is said that during the time period of ice age, right now wherever we are seeing the ocean and the seas, this was not the extent. तो होता क्या था, comparatively sea level was like comparatively lesser, and over a period of time that sea level got increased, right? A lot of regions got submerged. So before that particular place there used to be the rainfall in those regions. Right now where the aquifers are created, that fresh water got percolated and that particular thing got trapped in the layers below the ocean surface. Now there is ocean over that. So that's how the water got trapped over there. And even during the time period of ice age, ice was there. So ice was putting pressure from that melted ice, the water percolated down, and that was created in the form of offshore aquifers. Another theory is regarding the connection hypothesis, which says that they are connected with the on land aquifers. So the onshore aquifers के साथ connected है. That means the on land or the onshore aquifers are providing or supplying water to these offshore aquifers. They are all connected, right? So this is the thing or the theories that are being talked about. Now what are the significances? Obviously you are going to get a new freshwater resources. Socha nahi tha, right? But you have got. So in that particular case there can be potential untapped source of the fresh water, because the population is going to get increased, the demand for the fresh water is going to get increased, and we are seeing the report that majority of the urban cities are depleted with the water. There is no such freshwater resources mainly available in those regions. So that's why having a new freshwater resource obviously is going to be beneficial, right? Potential buffer during the climate change induced drought and the erratic rainfall, because right now the rainfall pattern has also got changed. During the time period when there used to be the drought situation, now there is rainfall or excessive rainfall. Excessive rainfall wale time period mein there are drought like situations also, extremes of the temperature also that is observed, right? So that's why it provides as a potential buffer, alternative resource will be available. Next is regarding the global freshwater demand is predicted to exceed the supply by 40%. That means 40% demand will be more and the supply is going to be less. That means many such regions are going to get deprived of the freshwater sources. That's why having some kind of untapped resources which is having roughly 10% of the terrestrial freshwater, that thing is important. Now, is it free from the challenges? The answer is obviously no. First is the high extraction cost. That will need a lot of technology, right? In order to implement that technology, whether extraction of that particular water will be economical for us or not. Now, another thing that has to be included over here is the issue with respect to the ecological risk, because when you are going to dig down deep over there and then you are going to first extract the water, first there will be issue that there will be intermixing of the ocean water. Chalo wo nahi bhi hota hai. Then there will be a lot impact on the species that are living over there, the biodiversity impact, and maybe suppose if you are taking out all the water, now there will be a void created. Maybe what will happen if there will be sudden subduction of that particular layer, that might create the large scale tsunamis also. That is also going to create one such issue. Then there are technical barriers. So see, the technology is right now not that much available in order to extract that much amount of water from there. You need to include the drilling, you need to include pipeline, you need to include, make them corrosion resistant, because when you are introducing the salt water that is going to be in the surrounding, that is going to corrode easily, right? So in that case, you have to prevent from the corrosion also. That will need a lot of cost. Lastly is the governance issue. Now, whose resource are this? Whether you are taking the resource from one country to another country, maybe हो सकता है ना कि the Mexico will claim कि भाई this is the aquifer from which you are taking water. That aquifer is getting supply from Mexico's water. You are taking the Mexican water. America को बोलेगा, America will say नहीं. We are taking American water. We are making America great again, right? So these are the things that are also going to be seen, right? So this is it regarding the major news that we have to discuss. Next is regarding the places in news. A few days back also, this particular Qatar related discussion was there. But since it was again in news, let's discuss briefly about Qatar. What is the capital of Qatar? It is Doha. Now you can see the location. This is the Arabian Peninsula. Here it is the UAE, right? Here it is Qatar, which is having the land boundary with Saudi Arabia. Now this Qatar is situated in the region of Persian Gulf. So here there is Persian Gulf, and here in this particular region it is the Gulf of Bahrain, right? So if there is a question regarding which particular water bodies are surrounding Qatar, so Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Bahrain. The countries which is making the sea-based boundary, which is Bahrain, right? The land-based boundary is situated with only Saudi Arabia. Now when we talk about this particular thing, we have seen this, we have talked about this, the water bodies, Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Bahrain. Now see, this is a very small country, a peninsular country. There are no such major physical features available, only there are salt flats or the salt related dunes that are available in this country. And one such important fact regarding this, that there is no perennial fresh water resources that are available on land, means the rivers are not there, perennial rivers are not there. Whatever is there is in the form of the rainfall and the groundwater resources. So freshwater resources, there is no such thing like the perennial river that is there. So that is the major issue with this. Now, what is the significance of Qatar from the perspective of India? For the energy related import, Qatar is one such major supplier of the LNGs. So world's third largest LNG reserves that are available with Qatar, and one of the world's largest exporter of LNG that Qatar is. So that's why Qatar is very, very important, right? So this is it regarding Qatar. Now, let's discuss certain other quick updates. So let's quickly discuss about that. First article is regarding Adi Sanskriti. So what is Adi Sanskriti? So Ministry of Tribal Affairs launched the beta version of Adi Sanskriti, which Sanskriti, see, Adi represents like the time immemorial, say like that particular thing was available since the ages, and Sanskriti means depicting the culture and all. So it is created as the world's digital learning platform for the tribal art forms. That means this will be the single platform that will talk about the tribal art forms, that will make you aware with respect to the what were the different type of the tribal things are there, right? Apart from that, it also ensures a repository of their practices, socio-economic practices that are there, right? So all these things will be available on the single platform. This will act as an education imparter with respect to the tribals, and apart from that, even act as a digital learning institution or the digital university. So it will be the world's first digital learning platform for the tribal art forms. This particular platform includes three prominent features or the three prominent components. First is Adi Vishwavidyalaya, like the university in order to learn our past. So Digital Tribal Art Academy, here what kind of courses this is offering? So 45 immersive courses include tribal dance, painting, craft, music, folklore. So you are going to get the idea regarding the rich culture of India, rich culture of the tribals in India, right? Adi Sampada, Sampada represents the wealth. So socio-cultural repository, this includes over 5,000 curated documents on 5 prominent streams, including painting, dance, clothing and textile, artifacts and the livelihood that are specifically related to the tribals. Lastly is the Adi Heart. Heart is the marketplace, right? So this is the online marketplace. Right now there is TriFed which is looking after this particular tribal related marketplace, and this will evolve into a dedicated online marketplace for the tribal artisans. So they need not to be dependent upon others. They can create their own worth by making and listing their own products. So this will be the online marketplace. So this is regarding the Adi Sanskriti. Next is regarding the Iran and IAEA agreement. So there was already a conflict going on between Israel and Iran, right? After that, what happened? That Iran said that we are withdrawing the cooperation with IAEA. That means we will not allow the IAEA inspectors to come to Iran and visit our nuclear plants. So that we are reducing or removing the cooperation with IAEA. We are coming out of that. Now Iran and the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, signed the agreement to pave the way for resuming the cooperation. So that particular cooperation has been achieved. So they have signed this document. Now IAEA administers what? This is the Atomic Energy Agency. So related to the atomic energy, the safeguards, standards and the implementation from the side of country, there will be regular inspections by the IAEA officials to the countries which are the NPT signatories, or those countries which are signatory of certain other agreements, like India, which is signatory of 123 agreement with United States, right? So that's the case. So IAEA administers international safeguards to verify the non-proliferation commitment. So ऐसा तो नहीं कि one country is providing the nuclear technology to other country, or a nuclear country is proliferating that, or non-nuclear country is developing certain capability of the nuclear warfare. So that particular thing is being checked by the IAEA. It facilitates the development of application of the nuclear energy for the peaceful purposes. This also disseminate the technological things, but only for the peaceful purposes, like the energy generation, right? So there was a JCPOA that was signed between United States and the Iran, like the joint comprehensive plan of action that was there. So after that, United States came out of the JCPOA after the Donald Trump's first 1.0, right? And then Iran again initiated its own nuclear related activities. So JCPOA, Iran reduced its nuclear activities and agreed to greater access of inspectors. So when JCPOA was signed, but later on when Trump came to power, JCPOA ko hata diya gaya, and then eventually Iran again initiated its policies with respect to the nuclear related developments. Next is the National Industrial Classification. So this is simply about the classification of industries in different segments. The Ministry of Statistics and the Program Implementation unveiled the draft of the NIC, National Industrial Classification. What is the categorization of the economic activity into different sectors, different segments, so that the data should be available, so that the sector specific idea should be available, so that sector specific growth can be available, like for example statistical surveys, census, economic research, registration process, policy formulation, sector specific चीजें आप पता कर सकते हो. You can identify those things and work upon the specific things. India has brought out the first standard industrial classification in 1962, a fact that you can just have an idea about. So this is regarding the National Industrial Classification. Who releases it? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Next is regarding Aspergillus, right? So researchers have identified 2 new Aspergillus species in the Western Ghat. That's why this is important. Just have an idea regarding Aspergillus. So what is this? So it is a filamentous fungi. It is a group which is the member of fungi group. What kind of fungi? Like it is a filamentous group. Now, what kind of task it is performing? Saprophytes. That means it is having its food and feed on the dead and decayed matter. So it is doing the disintegration of that, and from that it is getting the nutrition. Then it is endophytes. That means within that particular, let's say the trees and all, it can reside and then it can take the nutrition from that, but in the symbiotic manner. That means it is benefiting that tree and tree is benefiting it. Means tree is allowing it to live within its ecosystem, and then that particular case it is also benefiting tree with respect to growth and all. Last is the opportunistic pathogen. Means it is also sometimes opportunistic pathogen. Let's say if you do have the weak ecosystem or weak immune system, in that case you are going to get impacted by this. So it is also opportunistic. जहां इसे मौका मिलता है, it impacts the immune system and then it can even disrupt the function. It can even be carcinogenic, which can be deadly, right? The biotechnical technological applications are also there with respect to the Aspergillus, right? So it is vital in the citric acid production, food fermentation, agriculture. So these are the potential application of the Aspergillus, right? So this is the case. Some species are the potent carcinogen, right? Next is regarding the small satellite launch vehicle. So SSLV. So we you might have already seen PSLV, GSLV and all these things. What is SSLV? So this is the small satellite launch vehicle. Suppose if there is a very small satellite you have to launch. Now obviously you will not utilize your major rockets which is built to carry more than 1000-2000 kgs of satellite into the space. So ho sakta hai very small number satellite and small weight satellite you have to carry. So for that there is the small satellite launch vehicle. Now if that is a small satellite launch vehicle, it is comparatively smaller, and then in that case it can increase the turnaround time, means the time which is taken from the inception to launch of that particular vehicle, which includes the manufacturing and all these things, that can be reduced also. So it can, so the context is that ISRO has signed the agreement with HAL for transferring the SSLV technology that can help HAL to develop their engines and a lot of other things. So it will increase or quick the turnaround time. That means process entirely can be quick, right? On demand launch vehicle, so it will be comparatively developed at lesser amount of time, that can be efficiently scaled for the industrial production, because commercial application with respect to the developments of the space related thing has also increased. Now there will be 3 solid propulsion stages that will be there, and then there will be terminal stage mein liquid propulsion based system that will be there. So that will be having the velocity trimming module. Means suppose karo, if there is certain velocity ke saath, if that particular satellite launching vehicle is moving, and last stage mein, before just projecting that particular satellite into the space, if that has to be altered with the velocity, so for that there is also a mechanism of velocity trimming module. So this is the case. Now to launch the satellite weighing up to 500 kg in the LEO, which is the lower Earth orbit. Next is regarding the innovation for the defense excellence. As the name suggests, this particular institution is created in order to go for the defense related innovation excellence, right? So the innovation for the defense excellence and the defense innovation organization has inked an MOU with the EDCIL, which is the education related consultancy of India, right? That driven by the ASPIRE, which is the Accelerating Strategic Progress in Research and Education program. So what they have signed for? They have signed for the development of the dual use cutting edge technology. What is the dual use cutting edge technologies? That can be utilized in both ways, for the growth perspective also, for the development of the military equipment and the defense equipments also. So it can be utilized for the educational purpose also, it can be even utilized for the defense equipment manufacturing also. So there can be defense technology utilizing for the EdTech sector that is being talked about over here. So IDEX DIO kya hai? So it is launched in 2021, which aims to provide the financial supports to startup and certain other MSMEs with respect to do the innovations in the defense sector, right? So it is being funded and managed by the Defense Innovation Organization, DIO, which is like attached to this name, DIO, right? It is a not-for-profit company under the Department of Defense, Department of Defense Production and the Ministry of Defense. So this is regarding the innovation for defense excellence. Which particular ministry it is concerned with? Ministry of Defense. Last is regarding the Atal Innovation Mission. So recently, first overseas Atal Innovation Center that was inaugurated in IIT Delhi ke Abu Dhabi campus mein. So it gives me 2 things. First is what is Atal Innovation Mission, and secondly to give me an idea that IIT's campus are also in many such countries. We have seen already with respect to the African nation like Zanzibar. Now there are other countries also, like Abu Dhabi is also having the IIT campus, right? So the government of India's flagship mission hai Atal Innovation Mission under the auspices of the Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog launch plan hai. What is this particular Atal Innovation Mission? In order to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. So to boost the innovation, to boost the entrepreneurship, this particular mission was created. Now this has 3 prominent things. Atal Tinkering Lab. These labs were created in order to foster the innovation and the entrepreneurship at the school level, 6th to 12th level par. Then Atal Incubation Centers hai, which will be available in the universities. So in the universities, institution and corporate. Last is the Arise ANIC program. So this is for the MSME related support and the startup related support. So this article was regarding the Atal Innovation Mission. So with this, we have completed the discussion of the News Today edition of 11th of September. I hope that whatever we had discussed in today's discussion is clear to you. There must be questions that are available on the screen. Do try to attempt them, and also try to go to this particular portal and see what other features this portal offers. Okay? So the things should be clear to you. Okay. Thank you everyone. Have a great day.